Welcome to Brews&Boxing, episode 13. Gentlemen, we're back. Better than ever. James, you might be the champion, but I got the belt, baby. I got the belt. I don't know if that's copyrighted or not, but
you know what that is.
All right. With me, as always, is the one, the only, Filthy Rich. How you doing, Filthy Rich?
Good, man. What's going on?
Not too much, not too much. Man, a few words. Judge Jimmy James, also in the house. How you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm excited for this show.
Excited because this week we're talking them bantamweights, them little guys. Fun to talk them little guys. But hey, let's. I don't have anything for the intro here, so let's. I'm just kind of winging it on that one. So let's just jump right into Brews and News. You guys ready for that?
Let's do it.
All right, let's hit that bell. All right, first thing we do in Brews and News, I didn't forget this week because I have a giant beer in front of me, is Crack a Brew. And ever since our little incident in episode 10, I've been going to the cans. And I don't mess that up. So, gentlemen.
Cheers, boys.
Good stuff. All right, lots of news to talk about now that boxing's back. Back, so to speak. We've had boxing on TV a lot. I know you boys been watching it. I've been catching up. You've been tuning into the channel. We had a lot of shows back to back, so I've been trying to play catch up on a lot of these things. But the first thing we're going to talk about kind of ties into I can talk. I know more about this on the baseball side than I know on the boxing side, but it came out today that boxers are not willing to take pay cuts for their upcoming fights. So they're kind of going like the players are going, say, hey, pay us for what we do. Gentlemen, are you on the side of the promoters or are you on the side of the boxers? Filthy Rich, we'll start with you.
I'm kind of on both sides here. We don't know what these purse splits are, really. I know Dan Raphael, name dropping, has been posting the purse splits. But I know Ryan Garcia has backed out of the 4th of July fight, and Terrence Crawford said he's not willing to take a pay cut.
Shocking.
Well, you have an option for ESPN Plus, a paid subscription channel. There's also the option for pay-per-views. I don't see the need for these guys to take pay cuts depending on what their old pay rate is and depending on how much ratings they can generate. I know ratings have been down for the last few ESPN fights, but we're not talking about Crawfords and Garcias on these past cards. So if I were to take a side, I would be on the side of the player and the boxer and say, no, they shouldn't take a pay cut. But again, I don't know the exact numbers, and I don't want to mess with anyone's money.
Well, here's a question that I don't know the answer to, that maybe you guys know the answer to, that I was thinking about when this question came up, is how much of a fighter's pay comes from live gate money compared to the pay-per-view money / TV money. You know, if it's a giant thing, if it's going to be a huge pay cut because most of the money comes out of the paid admittance, then yeah, I can see why promoters would say, no, we can't pay you full. We're missing a giant chunk. But if that's just like chump change compared to what they make on, you know, the TV rights and the pay-per-view rights, I don't know what the split is. So I'm just saying, if it's the opposite way, then you can kind of take the player's side, or not the players, but the boxer's side on that. You know, why should I take a pay cut when we're making the same amount of money? We're just losing out on the gate. I don't know what the numbers are, how much money you get on both sides of that. I'd be interested to see that split. Do you guys know what that is? Or
Well, I'll let Jimmy James go, but I got a number for you. Go ahead.
I don't. I honestly don't know what the split is for that. I don't think I've ever really looked into, you know, how much they get off of TV rights versus the actual ticket sales and that sort of stuff. So, Rich, if you actually know this, then by all means, jump right in.
Well, I can't say I know anything or everything or anything like that, but I remember the Kovalev-Ward rematch. It was so hard to make, and Kovalev basically took zero, and he took all the money from the gate. So all that stuff really is negotiated. So yeah, the gate is there are numbers in the gate, and depending on how these fights are negotiated, I mean, that's the only one example I can come up with, and maybe it has happened before, but that was a pretty big fight, and it was hard to make that rematch. But Kovalev got nothing on promotion, where Andre Ward got a flat rate. It was like $6 million or something like that. And Kovalev got a big zero, but took a chunk of the gate. So if that's where Crawford and Garcia are coming from, then yeah, you hold out. If all my money's coming from the gate, I'm not going to fight. But I'm sure that something has been worked out. And I don't want to get into like the whole Bob Arum with Crawford and De La Hoya with Ryan Garcia. They're going to have their own way of negotiating. But
where was that Kovalev fight? Was that
where was it?
Yeah.
Could it Vegas or Brooklyn?
Because I would think that it would also probably depend on the venue too. I mean, I think Vegas would probably be the least amount of money for a gate because you're going to have you're going to have more comped people there. I mean, casinos are going to put in their players into the boxing, and there's not going to be a lot of ticket buys on that. You know, the casino just says, hey, we have all these seats for ours, compared to like if you do like Wembley Stadium where every ticket's for sale and you can charge what you want. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm not an accountant. I don't know how that works. It'd be interesting to look up, and maybe we can talk about it after looking that up. Maybe we should have looked that up before we talked about it.
Well, I'm even wondering if there were venues for their next fight. Is that 4th of July fight in Vegas? Is Crawford's next fight in Vegas? That would help answer this question, but right now we don't know, and I don't even think they know. It's not like they've signed agreements at any venue right now. So.
Well, plus I don't think there's any events in the United States that are allowed to have fans yet. I mean, I can't think of any. You know, UFC's doing it like the Fight Island thing, and there's still, you know, there's no one in the stands, just the other fighters watching it. And so I even with Vegas opening up, I don't think the only thing you can go to with a ton of people is a Trump rally, and who wants to go to that? So I mean, it's I don't know. I'd be interested to see what that split is. I have no idea. But that's what we think. Let's move on. I think we covered all we know about that one. Let's move on to the next one where we talked about Crawford and Bob Arum. Bob Arum came out with a little bit of shocking news the other day. Was this today, or it might have been the other day? I don't remember. But he said that Crawford will fight this fall, and he's going to fight one of these 4 opponents. And the opponents are Ugas, Kell Brook, Sean Porter, or Pacquiao. A shocking person that's not in there is Errol Spence Jr. Is he dodging Errol Spence Jr., or is, I mean, if you're dodging him, these are 4 tough fights. I mean, I guess the easiest out of those 4 fights is the Sean Porter, but that's not an easy fight either. I mean, Sean Porter's tough. I mean, just you can go ahead and ask Errol Spence how tough Sean Porter is, So, James, we'll start with you. Which of them 4 opponents would you want to see Crawford fight, since you're Crawford super fan? And I assume you got him beating all 4 of them. Which one gives him the most problems?
Well, there's no guarantee that he's going to fight. Like I said,
Bob Arum says he guarantees.
Bob Arum says that he would like him to fight in the fall. Personally, I think Crawford can't afford to wait, given his age. But between those 4 guys, it is pretty. That list is surprising. One, I think there's only 2 people that should have been on that list. It should have been only Pacquiao or Spence. The fact that Ugas and Porter are getting thrown into that mix is just, to me, that's just a little crazy. But I mean, I don't know. Between those guys, man, Ugas and Porter are going to be the easier fights for him. However, I think that's a coin flip with which one's going to actually be tougher. I mean, it looked like Ugas beat Porter when they fought before. And, Porter still puts up one hell of a fight, even though he's that, a smaller guy. And yeah, I'm not sure on that one, man. I'm just surprised that there's 4 names that they have on that list, and one of them isn't Spence. I think that's kind of crazy. I don't think he's ducking Spence. I think Spence is ducking Crawford.
Well, first thing I want to point out before I ask you, Rich, is I want to shout out to Bob Arum. Thank you for watching our show on Chromecast, because all of a sudden Kell Brook got put into that conversation. And according to our stats, we have one person watching on Chromecast. So that's got to be Bob Arum. And so thank you for doing that. Maybe Kell Brook is the fight. Maybe he's, I don't know, maybe he's worried about it. Listen to two of us. Although I do notice that you didn't bring up Kell Brook as one of the easy ones, James, after weeks of us talking about that. Are you finally coming around that that's a lot harder fight than you think it is? Because
I honestly forgot you said that. I honestly forgot you even said his name. To be 100% honest, I can't even believe it. If Kell Brook was on that list, then that's the easiest fight. But that's going to be a pushover. That's a pushover. That ain't even going to be nothing. I wouldn't. If I was Crawford, I'd hold out to fight somebody else too.
Whew. All right. Well, Filthy Rich. It looks like you're thinking what I'm thinking, so go ahead.
Well, I guess I don't really know what the question is. What I would like to think is, who would I want to see him fight?
Errol Spence.
Errol Spence, but again, that can wait. But every one of these guys makes a really good fight for Crawford. I think, in my opinion, I know I've been hard on Crawford, but it's almost as if he beats any one of these guys. That's a pound-for-pound list. I had him at number 3 on my welterweight list. I had him behind Spence, who was not one of the 4, and I had him behind Ugas, who Errol Spence has recently said if Ugas was from the United States, he would be one of the best welterweights. Everyone would know of this guy. And he is. Don't sleep on Ugas. I thought he beat Porter, but that's another story that we've already talked about. Speaking of Porter, the reason why he should fight Sean Porter is because Sean Porter went the distance with Errol Spence. If he can beat Sean Porter, and that is not an easy out, if he can beat Sean Porter, then he has something to hold against Errol Spence. The same way we talked about this a few weeks ago, Regis Prograis beat Julius Ndongo in 2 rounds when Crawford beat him in 3. So if Crawford can beat Sean Porter in 11 rounds, he can rub that in Errol Spence's face. I don't think it would happen. I think Kell Brook is probably too big. I mean, Kell Brook's at 154. He would have to move down to fight, and he put up a fight with Golovkin. If it wasn't for that broken eye socket, who knows how that fight would have went.
Manny eye socket, which is crazy.
Manny Pacquiao still has something in the tank. I'm not saying you want to avoid Manny Pacquiao, because maybe that's the easiest fight. And I don't who's the 4th guy?
Yeah, Ugas, Kell Brook, Sean Porter, and Pacquiao.
So I guess I went through all of them. Every single one of these fights is not an easy out, the way his career has been. I heard you whisper Kell Brook. It's not an easy out. Kell Brook is too big. Crawford's coming up from 140 about a year ago. Kell Brook's at 154, and they're going to meet at 147, which is fine. I think Kell Brook is an easy fight to make. He'll go over to ESPN. Ugas, I think, is right there in the middle, but he's been with Al Heyman for not so long, but I still think he's with Fox and Showtime, as well as Showtime Sean Porter. And Manny Pacquiao is over with Showtime as well. So
didn't Porter move over to DAZN though? I thought Porter moved to DAZN.
No, Porter's with he's on the PBC. There are a bunch of PBC.
Just swore DAZN signed him. I thought.
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe Raider Live has connections I don't have, and that's okay.
I'm probably remembering it wrong.
The one thing I like is that we know all 4 of these guys on this list. It's not some guy we haven't heard of, and then that's the fight that has to be made. I just know that Al Heyman keeps giving his guys to Bob Arum and put him on ESPN or put him on HBO. There's got to come a point. I mean, Danny Jacobs is an example. Danny Jacobs was a PBC guy that went over to HBO. Deontay Wilder, another PBC guy that went over to ESPN. At some point, Bob Arum has to cave and let one of his guys go over to the PBC, because that's why these fights aren't getting made. I think Al Heyman is one of the good ones. He's doing a good job at making sure his fighters get paid. But Bob Arum is not budging. His guys are never on any other network other than the network they're signed with. And that's got to change.
Yeah. All right. You got any final words on that superfan Porter or superfan Crawford down there?
Yeah, let's see something, man. He needs to fight in 2020. If he doesn't fight in 2020, it's only hurting himself.
For those of you who don't know, Judge Jimmy James is actually the president of the Terrence Crawford fan club. They all send his mail to him, and he sorts through it. And they're all scared of Kell Brook too. I'm telling you, it's one of them things where they talk bad about him because they're scared of him the most. It's like
straight nonsense.
It's like Mayweather talks so much smack about Triple G. Never wanted to fight him. Talked about smack about him. And I remember that Kell Brook Triple G fight. You telling me Kell Brook had him beat? I remember you saying that, Judge. You say, man, he had him beat until he busted his eye open.
I don't know about that.
Again,
I remember distinctly.
Eddie Atlas had Kell Brook winning those 5 rounds. I mean, it stopped in 5 or maybe 6, but
I think it stopped in the 6th. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Teddy Atlas had Kell Brook winning 5 rounds, and that wouldn't be a robbery for me, anyways.
No, I mean, you watch that fight. Kell Brook's tough, man. He just could get his eyes fixed.
He beat Sean Porter, so
yeah, you beat Porter. So, all right, let's move on to the last little bit of news that we have here. Usyk is going to invoke his mandatory and not wait for the winner of Joshua and Fury. Boys, what do you think of that? Rich, we'll start with you this time. Is that a big deal, or is it just a belt grab, or what are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't know why. I get the fact that you need to fight the best, but Usyk is I'm still looking at him as a cruiserweight. I don't think he wants any parts of these giants of the 2000s heavyweight resurgence. This is a new golden era in the heavyweight division. Usyk, pound for pound, it makes sense why he's on these top 10 lists, but Usyk needs to go after someone like the guy from New Zealand who Joshua has already beat.
Wallen?
No, Joseph Parker. Someone about 6'4", 6'3", something like that.
Ruiz or Ortiz or something like that. Ruiz or Ortiz.
Yeah, someone like that. Go after those guys first, but I don't think you want to fight a 6'6" giant like Anthony Joshua or a 6'7" Deontay Wilder or even a 6'9" Tyson Fury. Now, I don't know what belt he wants to go after. I think this is all – I don't know what the term smoke and mirrors mean. I've heard the term. I don't know what it means, but I think he just wants to make a name for himself.
The question I have is, how does he have a mandatory already when he hasn't even had a fight in the heavyweight division? That doesn't make any sense to me. How do you have the mandatory? How are you the mandatory contender and you've never fought in that division?
Yeah, I think he's fought once in that division.
Did he fight one? But okay, you've had one fight. I'm sure it was a tune-up fight.
That's exactly it, and that's why he should go after someone like a Joseph Parker or even like someone like Povetkin or a Pulev, like somebody else. But don't want to go after this whole mandatory thing. And I'm not sure what the game plan is here, but to each his own. You want to fight him? You're gonna just damage your record. I think. I don't think he beats Joshua. I don't think he beats Fury. I don't even think he beats Wilder. I don't even have him ranked in the top 5. I don't think he beats Dillian White. There's a name. Remember, we're Dillian White buddies from episode 1. That's all I got for now. Go ahead, Jimmy James.
Usyk did fight. He fought one heavyweight fight already, and it was against Chaz Witherspoon, former car salesman turned boxer. So, I mean, yeah.
The mean Chaz. What's his name?
Chaz Witherspoon. So
Chaz Witherspoon.
But on the sides, he was teaching people how to crash funerals and weddings, apparently. But you beat Chaz Witherspoon, who was a car salesman up until that fight, and suddenly you have a mandatory, that makes no sense to me.
Raider Live, you get it. You
I-
get
yeah.
it, Raider Live. You are the common man. You are the voice of the world, the voice of America.
Well, the voice of the smart side of America, anyway. Judge, what do you think of that?
What do you want to say? Usyk
No,
had
that
all
I'm
the
the voice
belts.
of America. That
No, I don't care about that, man. Usyk had all the belts at cruiserweight. He's just like Lomachenko. He wants to fight the best now. He doesn't want to wait. He wants to fight title fights. That's what he wants. He wants to move up. I'm not 100% sure why he's the WBO challenger. He might just be the number one contender for that specific belt, which is why he has that ability.
but after one fight,
Well, like I said, man, he is on a pound for pound list. A lot of people have him in the top 5 for pound. Like,
well, he was on the
and
our pound for pound list because of me.
Well,
I
there you
had him
go.
up higher than everyone else.
I'm saying, when you look at other websites and stuff like that, they have him ranked pretty dang high. And to be honest, if you are a Wilder or a Joshua or a Fury, and if you're on Rich's side, like, he shouldn't be fighting those guys because you think he's too big. Usyk's 6'3", then fight him and knock him down, man. If he's only 6'3" and you got
Almost had a
6
joke.
inches on him, then go right ahead, pop him one and put him in his place, knock him out of the picture, and don't even worry about it. Don't even second guess it. But I think you'd be pretty surprised at how well he can handle himself against some heavyweights, some big boys in the ring, because I think he's going to put on a good show. I'd like to see it. I like to see it.
Well, I believe it because I had him on 7 as my pound for pound list, and you guys had him at 13 and 14 respectively. So I mean, because of me, he made the top 10, didn't he?
Well, look,
Oh,
if
no,
I
he
can
didn't.
jump
He
in,
was 11. Oh man, he's 11.
if
should
I
have him
can
at
jump
6.
in, cleaning out the cruiserweight division was nothing. I mean, we had a difficult time last week with that. I had a difficult time. Jimmy James kicked my butt, which is fine. But I had a difficult time with that cruiserweight division. That is not it's not an easy division to rank because it's all over the place. So to wipe out the cruiserweight division was like Terrence Crawford wiping out 140. There was nothing to wipe out. It was just that easy of a division. Now, going back to this mandatory challenge, this speaks more of the WBO's ranking. They don't know what they are doing. The WBO ought to be embarrassed that they have Usyk, the number one contender, over a host of other fighters that are
Ruiz,
deserving.
Ortiz, none of those guys. Yeah.
This is why these
guys have
belts,
been champions and that are fighting in the heavyweight division.
I can rip on all these belts every day of the week, but this is why these belts don't matter. You have Usyk number 1, and he's fought once at heavyweight. You can miss me with all that WBO number 1 mandatory garbage because there's some very deserving people who should be a number 1 contender ahead of Usyk.
Ruiz and Ortiz, they both fought in that division for how long? I mean, it's
I'm done with you, ridiculous. WBO. I'm done. I'm putting you on the list.
You just made the list.
How's Dillian White not gonna be up there? Dillian White's been there forever.
Dillian White's in the news too.
That's
we
a
probably
whole
won't talk
nother
about him this
story.
week, but
still, Dillian White
story.
should have should be a number 1 contender before.
He's suing, isn't he suing the WBO for not giving because everyone's ducking him now? He's suing the WBO. I believe that's the story, or maybe it's the WBC. But the alphabet doesn't matter right now.
It doesn't. I mean, the BAB is the only one that matters. But I'm talking.
James giving me the finger.
Joseph Parker up there too. I mean, he should be getting a title shot before these guys. But
no,
but you gotta have fights.
Dillian White isn't even ranked as a contender in any of the 4 belts.
I know
something's wrong with that. Like, something is wrong with that.
Dillian White, ESPN's got him ranked at 4 in their heavyweights right now. How is he not ranked in any of the 4 belts? That makes no sense whatsoever. He's lost one fight. Just one fight. To
Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
The world champ, yeah.
Oh, well.
I mean, no respect. We got to bring that heavyweight list back because Dillian White, I think he was by 3? I think we both have him at 3.
Both of us have him at 3.
I want to put him at 1 just out of pure spite at this point. No one wants to fight him. Obviously, I think we both said that nobody wanted to fight him, and then we talked about in the unanimous decision show, and Judge Jimmy James told us we were crazy, but or was it acquaintance of the show Matt Seabach saying we were crazy or talking about his left hook or something?
He just didn't talk about his mean left hook. That's all it was.
Well, apparently he gets no respect. Maybe no respect at all. All right, boys, that's a lot of news. We did a lot of news today. And we're kind of going to do that more. I know a lot of our fans like the news a lot more. Moving on in our show, we're talking about doing different things in the future here. There's going to be a lot more news, especially since there's going to be a lot more boxing. More boxing, more news. We're going to talk a lot more news coming up. So stay tuned for that. I know you guys like that show. But for right now, we got to get into the Filthy Five. All right, Judge Jimmy James is the defending champ of the Filthy Five, even though I have a belt here that he doesn't have. But I also have a fantasy belt that for some reason I don't get to have until the draft, which makes no sense. But we'll talk about that in the fantasy show. This week we're doing the bantamweights up to 118. And as defending champ, Judge Jimmy James, you get to go first with your number 5.
Ooh. Well, my number 5, let's jump right into it, man. My number 5 in the Bantamweight division is Emmanuel Rodriguez. He's 27 years old. He's 19-1. He's got 12 knockouts. His only loss is to Inoue. He also beat Jason Maloney, who's one half of the Maloney twins. He's obviously the lesser fighter, in my opinion, versus those two guys. But Emmanuel Rodriguez is just he's a young fighter. He's got good stuff. I think he's just, ran into someone that was better. I
Anyway,
think
kicked his ass.
I think he's, well, yeah, I mean, he dropped him in 2, I think. It was, yeah, it wasn't really that great of a thing, but I still think he deserves to be on the top 5. I'm assuming Rich is going to have some words to say about this one, but that's who I got as my number 5 is Emmanuel Rodriguez.
Yeah, I always like it when people take a stab out there and defend yourself with taking a risk. I like that. I mean, it's no Chaz Witherspoon, but it's a good fighter nonetheless. All right, Rich, who do you got as your number 5?
I have number 5, Zolani Tete.
Kazunte.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I have him at number 5 because 5 and Emmanuel Rodriguez and everyone else down that line. This was just a toss-up. He has been this has been his division for like 3 years now. I think Ring Magazine has him ranked for 200 plus weeks in this division, somewhere in that number 5 range. 31 years old, 28-4. He's got the 21 knockouts. Has 0 resume. Most of his fights have been in South Africa, at least his first 10 to 15 fights. Trying to make a name for himself, and he can, but I have him at 5 simply because he, again, one of the best of the rest, but I don't see him beating anyone in my top 4.
I liked his cameo in the movie Big. Wasn't he in the the machine that told the future that made him big? Zolani Tete.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That was Zoltar. Yeah, that's what it was. Zoltar. Zolani, Zoltar. Same thing. All right, Rich, who do you got? You're number 4.
Raider Live. I don't watch movies, man. I'm a loser.
Well, then I'm done with you.
I know you're done with me, man. I'm a boxing loser. I can tell you how many times Sugar Ray Robinson fought the Raging Bull, and that's all I can give you. At number 4, I have Luis Neri. Now, he probably should be higher, and on many lists he is higher. But I have penalized him for drug use, for failing drug tests. So to me, Mr. Neri, you are at number 4. You've beaten Juan Carlos Payano and Miguel Arroyo, but he failed the drug test against Shinsuke Yamanaka. And again, that nice, unblemished 30-0 with 24 knockout young guy. He still has a bright future ahead of him, but because of that failed drug test, I have him at number 4.
One more time.
Was I breaking up?
No, I just didn't catch the. I just wanted you to repeat the name one more time.
Luis Neri.
I just didn't know how to pronounce it. I don't know anything about it.
Leave me alone, Raider Live. I'm done with you. I am done with you.
All right, Luis Nere. I just like the way you say Nere.
Nere, like I'm smart. Like,
I want to hear you say it one more time. Luis Nere.
Nere.
All
Whatever.
right, Judge, who you got?
Done, man. I quit. Take my belt. Hey, you can keep the belt. I quit.
For my number 4 pick this week, I have got Jean-Rael Casimero.
Gesundheit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I use it twice. What?
Oh, Rich don't like that.
I'm gonna win the title back, aren't I?
You might, yeah, maybe you will. Either way, he's 30 years old. He's 29-4. He's got 20 knockouts. He actually beat a little Tay. And Edwards, he's lost to some other random name peoples, but I mean, personally, I think he's got some good power for this division. I don't think a couple of other guys would really do any damage to him at this point. Like I said, he's still right in the middle of his career, and I think he still has the ability to move up. I don't know how far he's going to be able to move up, but he's no one to take lightly. So that's who I have at my number 4, Casimero.
Casimero?
Yeah.
Casimero.
Mm-hmm.
Not as fun to say as Nere.
No, it's not.
Nere.
Nere. All right. Well, do you have Nere at number 3, James?
I do actually have Luis Nere at number 3. So
it's fun to say.
Yes. He did fail a drug test, Rich. He's from Mexico, so he's eating that same meat as good old Canelo Alvarez was. But yeah, I mean he has beat Piano and Arroyo. He is undefeated, 24 knockouts. He fights a lot down in Mexico. He's only 25 years old, so he is just like Alvarez is in the amount of fights that he's had super young, which is something you usually don't see too often. So I think he's got to fight someone bigger in the division to take a little bit bigger name, but I don't think he beats the 2 people I have ahead of him. But being only 25, he can still change his game and, pass a lot more drug tests. So I don't got to worry about that no more.
Hey, he don't like the drugs. The drugs like him. Whatever it is, man.
Drugs bad, okay?
If he loved the earth more, he wouldn't be eating that tainted meat, right there, Filthy Rich.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. This ain't the right show.
All right, Luis Nere at number 3. All right, Rich, you're up on number 3. Who do you got?
Well, I remember a few weeks ago when I had Robert Easter. I think we're going to run into a Robert Easter situation here pretty soon. I don't know what's going on. We start the show or start the segment mentioning who we are excluding from this list, and we went over that, and we weren't excluding anyone to keep the viewers updated. Number 3, we're at number 3, right?
We are at 3, yeah.
I got Nonito Donaire.
Well, that's another fun one to say.
Oh. I don't know where Jimmy James has him. I would guess he has him at number 2, but let's wait on that. I have him at number 3, not because of his wins, but because of his losses, as weird as that may sound. He's lost to Inoue and Frampton and Jesse Magdaleno, and when Nicholas Walters was king of the world. He also lost to Guillermo Rigondeaux, who I think both of you like to call him a Rigamado.
Rigamado.
But here, his big win is against the guy, at least in my opinion, is against the guy I considered the Scott Quigg of this division.
There it
we
is.
all know the name
there
Scott Quigg now, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
He beat a guy by the name of Ryan Burnett. And I thought Ryan Burnett was the king of that division for a while, and Donaire beat him. So his big win was against Burnett, and obviously he has a lot of losses, but those are losses that are, I don't want to call them acceptable, but I mean, you can't fault a guy for taking a big fight. and I think Donaire beats Nere. There's that name again. And that's why I have him at number 3, and also because I don't think he beats my top 2 guys.
Well, Inoue seems to have beat everybody on this list so far anyway. But you keep dropping Scott Queeg's name like you want to drop it like you know who. But I keep looking. Every photo that I see of Scott Queeg, he looks like he just got hit in the face with a shovel. I mean, he is not an attractive man. He is definitely no Amir Khan. So if you're trying to make him the new Amir Khan, you're losing out because he looks like he got hit with a shovel in every picture I see him in, and including this nasty one with him. Who is this against? But his nose is terrible. Oscar Valdez, that fight. Ooh,
yeah.
Look at that. Ooh. Maybe
gross.
I'll put it there. Squeamish warning, like I put on last week. If you're squeamish, don't look at this. Or that was
I hope you do it right or live.
Squeamish warning on there for that cut. I don't know if you guys saw I put the warning up for that, but
I saw it right or live.
Yeah, that was.
I saw it.
This nose might be worse than that cut. Ooh. Scott Queeg. All right, Rich, you're up on your number 2.
I am up at number 2.
That's what I said.
Right or live, you know everything. I'm in the wrong room.
I'm the voice of America.
That's an old discussion, but yes, you are the voice of America. You get it. Number 2, and this is the one I'm wondering. Jimmy James, like I have Guillermo Rigondeaux at number 2. I don't know if you have him on your list. I have Rigondeaux at number 2. He beat
Rigamado?
I got Rigamado at number 2. He beat Donaire, which is kind of why I have him there. His only loss was to the guy who beats up everyone, and that's Lomachenko. Is there any shame? Well, I mean, I want to say he quit on the stool. He claimed he had a broken hand, and I'll have to live with that. But his amateur record is he has like 16 gold medals, whether it's in the Olympics or the Pan American Games or every contest he enters. The
Gold.
dude, 16 gold medals. The world championships, whatever kind of amateur, whatever he is entering in, he cleans people out. I think he's a southpaw. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he's a southpaw. He's slick, quick, head movement, footwork, defense, a boring fighter to watch, but nobody can beat him, and he hits really hard. I have him at number 2 because I don't think he beats my number 1, but I think he cleans out the rest of anyone in the Bantamweight division.
Well, I have a pretty good idea who your number 1 is. Probably no big spoilers on this list
Not
coming
tonight.
in. When we look at the bantamweights, and especially when we talk about our pound for pound list, there's probably no doubt that we're going to have a BAB champion. But besides that, we still go through the list like we do. Interesting to see what you got at your number 2, James, because as I said, I'm surprised that Nonito is not on your list here, unless he's at 2, which means you got Rigamado out.
Well, let's leave something to the imagination of the public here. All right. Jeez. Even though. But, I'll tell you right now, Rich, I do not have Rigondeaux on my top 5. He's number 6 in this list for me.
Wow.
He is one hell of a fighter. I'm not going to deny that. But it's 39.
Yeah.
39, man. And he
to win that many medals, you have to be old.
He's 39. I mean,
Cuban, and he has the Cubans have problems getting to the United States. Not to jump in here, but every one of these Cubans have a problem getting to the United States. And
wait a minute. He's a 39-year-old Cuban?
Yeah.
He might be 51 years old then. You don't.
51 years old. And
he could be.
He's beating people up.
Yeah, they're they've lied about their age over there many times. He may be getting Social Security at this point. We don't even know. I mean, but
That's
fair. Jimmy James.
All right, who you got it to then? If it's not Rigamado,
no Rigondeaux. My number 2 is Nonito Donaire.
There we go.
I think this is the experienced guy in this division. I think his experience, even though he's got 6 losses, I think his experience still is going to trump a lot of these guys. Against even a rematch with Rigondeaux, I don't know that's going to play out the same way. He still went the distance with him. So I think it beats Nere, Casimiro, Rodriguez, even Ubali. But he's still getting old, man. He's 37. He's getting up there, but I think he's kind of like
But he's not Cuban, so he's actually probably a true 37 years old.
No, he's not. He's not Cuban at all. He's, I think, Filipino, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that.
So he might only be 45 then, looking at
But either way, man, I think he's kind of like a Chocolatito. He's old, but he's just going to be around. These little guys stay around a lot longer than normal, than people in the other divisions. But Donaire, I'd love to see him fight my number 1 again, for sure. But that's who I got as my number 2 is Nonito Donaire.
All right, Judge's question here before we get to the number 1 here. Judge, I got a question about your number 2 here. You started off by saying Rigondeaux is too old, and then your whole argument with Donaire is that he's that old.
Donaire's 2 years younger, first of all, man. Rigondeaux is 39, Donaire's 37. All right, and it's different. It's just different. 2 years along, it's a lot of time. I'm telling you. He's also got way more fights, man. That's 46 fights to 21 fights. If you want to get that, that's more experience. Granted, amateur fights for Rigondeaux is way up there. And I don't know Donaire's amateur fights, so I can't speak to that. But I know for professional fights, that boom, boom, boom.
Well, I just want to point out that Filthy Rich is almost 2 years older than me, and he looks a lot better than I do. I'll just tell you that.
Hey, man,
2 years when you get to the 39, 40 years old, it's not as big a deal. I mean, that you're still almost 40, That's my point. I just wanted to give you a chance to retort on that one. Because it was very interesting that you used that you attacked Filthy Rich's guy by saying he's so old, though. By the way, my guy is a year and a half younger, man. He's a spring chicken.
Man, that ain't even close to what I said at all. Because what are you twisting words over there? What is this, fake news? Fake news, Raider.
I calls them as I sees them. So I was just curious. I gave you a chance to retort there.
I ain't retorting nothing. I say what I say and I mean what I say.
And that's why I love you. That's why you don't lose too many points for that. All right. Let's go to our number 1s here. I mean, this one's just it's probably pretty obvious, but we still need to go through the procedure, so to speak. I'll ask you both what your number 1 is, and then if they agree, then we will have a BAB champion. If not, which in case somebody throws Rigondeaux in, if James throws Rigondeaux in at number 1 and just throws that curveball in on us, after talking about how old he was, that'd be great. But all right. Judge, who you got at your number 1?
I mean, I don't even.
By the way, I resent the fact that 38 is that old. By the way,
I was gonna try to throw something in here to be funny, but I think it's past now. My number 1 is Naoya Inoue.
All right, Filthy Rich, who's your number 1?
Number 1, I got Naoya Inoue.
All right, congratulations, Naoya Inoue. You are our BAB champion for Bantamweight 118 division. Congratulations. We tried to learn your name back on our 10th anniversary show, but it still was hard for all of us. We're still arguing about the correct pronunciation, but you are a beast of a fighter, and you have just won the most prestigious title of your career, a BAB championship. Judge Jimmy James, as the defending champ, you get to go first about why he is your number 1. Try not to talk about how old he is.
I will talk about how old he is. He's 27 years old, Raider Live. All right? He's a springer than a spring chicken, man. He's still in the egg. How about that? Anyway, he's 19-0. He's 16 knockouts. He's a 3-division champion. I don't remember where he was on my list. I think he was 4th on my pound-for-pound list, 4th or 5th on my pound-for-pound list. He's got only one big name defeat in this division, which is Donaire, but you can't deny this man's power and his skills. He is nicknamed the Monster for a reason, even though he's only 118 pounds. This guy is no joke. you want to avoid him if you can, especially anybody else in this division. He is the monster. The monster.
The monster?
The monster.
He's Godzilla.
Sure.
All right. Filthy Rich, why you got him at number 1?
Yeah, I mean, he beat Donaire. He beat another. Let's not make Scott Quigg like this name, but like, he beat a guy named Jamie McDonnell, who was also another guy who I thought was like a king of this division. He beat Jamie McDonnell. He beat a guy by the name, I don't know, I'm pretty good with knowing these guys, but there's a guy by the name of Kono. This guy Kono had a fight with Kameda, the Kono Kameda fight back in 2015. These guys, talk about no defense. All they did was hit to the face. It's like, I know we talked about the Ocho recently. I don't watch this stuff, but the Ocho has a slapping. You slap him in the face contest.
Wait a minute. How'd you know that if you don't watch the Ocho?
I watch Brews&Boxing.
Now I'm calling you out for that. I called James out about the age thing. Now I'm calling you out. I don't watch this, but if you guys seen slap fighting on the Ocho.
I watch Brews&Boxing, and I'm pretty sure you guys have talked about it. Maybe it was in pre-show, but yeah, they have slap fights apparently. But that Kono and Kameda fight was a slapping. All they did was slap each other in the face the whole fight. So when Jimmy James says that he doesn't have much of a resume, well, let me tell you, he also beat your number 5, Emmanuel Rodriguez.
That's true.
Okay. But yeah, he beat Kono. He beat Jamie McDonnell, who was another Scott Quigg, like a Ryan Burnett. And OUA is just beaten these guys. I'm pretty sure I had him at number 5 on my pound for pound list over Terrence Crawford, because Terrence Crawford didn't have the bodies that when I look at Inoue, he's got some bodies on it. For 19 fights, he has like 6 bodies on his resume, and he's not done yet. He's only 26 years old. What do you do? 27? Is he 27? He's 27. Fair enough.
Okay, well, we have an issue here, boys.
Oh, hell.
We have an issue.
Oh, hell.
We have an issue.
What's your issue?
Well, let's see. Hold on. Oh, no, it's not an issue.
That belt, man.
It's not an issue. Belt. I was adding it up. I thought we had a draw. I thought we did because I for the first time we had 10-10 rounds. So I thought we had a draw because I couldn't go either way on. So on your guys' 5th fighter, I couldn't choose a side. You guys both had great points.
I was right on that one. We had Emmanuel Rodriguez, Zelande Titi,
Titi.
And that's why you didn't get the full points, because you didn't say his name right. And then I had you both as a draw on Inoue as well, because you both, Rich had a lot of substance, but James also had the stats and the ages. It's really good. But the other rounds, thankfully, there's 3 other rounds, and since I suck at math, I couldn't figure it out at first. I thought it was a draw, and then I redid it, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, no, it's not a draw. For this week's Filthy 5 champion is at 49-47, or 48, pardon me, Filthy Rich. Filthy Rich, congratulations. You are our BAB Filthy 5 champion this week. Very close fight. Yeah, so you get your full 30 seconds starting now of anything you want to talk about as I throw Jimmy James on all mute.
All right, shout out to Raider Live. 30 seconds. I got my The Rock tie. Great show, great Friday show. I want to give a shout out to, where is it here? Christy Martin, first woman Boxing Hall of Fame. She was shot by her husband and left to die in 2010. So I do want to mention that she's going to be the first woman boxer in the Hall of Fame. I think that's coming. I also want to give a shout out to my pal, my good friend Laura, for watching the show. Thank you for all your hard work. We're going to miss you, Laura. Thank you.
All right. Judge, you're off of mute now, so you can. Yeah,
Shout out
looked
to
like it looked like he was getting angry, and then you busted in like, well, we have this woman Hall of Fame boxer, and thank you for watching, Laura. And then he's like, oh, okay, well, I can't be angry anymore.
Oh, man,
Well, you don't get a retort, James, because you lost. So, Filthy Rich, congratulations on winning the belt this week. Although I'm going to hold on to the belt here because, it's because I'm undefeated on
I
that.
want that belt.
All right, let's move on to the 13th round. All right, boys, 13th round. Sometimes is where we talk about sports, not necessarily boxing, but this week we are going to talk boxing because boxing's back and it's fun to watch. And there's actually been a lot of cards going on. And as soon as I can catch up, I got them all on my DVR. I mean, obviously, I watched the main event, watching Shakur Stevenson the other week. But there's been a lot of good fights that have happened and a lot of fights that are coming up here very soon. Guys, let's kind of keep it like recent and coming up in the next few weeks. What fights in the last few weeks that we've watched or coming up in the next 1 or 2 weeks are you most excited about? Filthy Rich, as champion, you get to go first.
Well, there's probably here's the deal with fights coming up. I'm not sold that anything really is coming up. I know.
What do you mean? We got Thursday night boxing coming up.
There is a fight. I don't know if we're gonna date these things, but I don't know when this will be uploaded. But there's a fight tomorrow.
This is filmed on the. We can tell when it's filmed. I always put our filming date on there. So this is filmed on the 17th of June, guys. So if there's a fight after this thing has been uploaded, if this gets uploaded on Friday and there's a fight on Thursday, then we're talking about we're looking forward to a Thursday fight. That's why. Sometimes it takes a couple days.
We should have talked about June 17th. ESPN has that June 17th thing where Gretzky played his last game and O.J. Simpson had the thing and all this other stuff. And what would our favorites be? Here's the deal. What is the guy? I don't even remember the guy's name. Again, I'm not sold on any of this stuff. I did watch Jesse Magdaleno get hit low plenty of times. And was it the 10th round? I don't know if it was the 10th or 12th, but in the final round where I don't even think it was Tony Weeks. It was someone could have let the fight go. Maybe it was Robert Byrd. Just stop the fight because it was a fight. It wasn't even a boxing match at that point. It turned into a fight. And I saw swear words and, some
does.
Some does in there. And,
that's all. You know what? Sometimes, Rich, sometimes you get hit in the testicles. Sometimes that happens. I mean,
Look, boxing is back. I didn't think I'd be excited for empty arena boxing, but this is really good. I am really excited. I look forward to all these fights. I'm not missing tomorrow's fight. I'm not missing Saturday's fight. I am excited again, and I've shocked myself.
Well, sometimes I kind of look at these. When we have weekly fights. Sometimes you got to look at them like baseball games where yeah, you're going to watch it. You're not going to get excited for a regular season baseball game, but it's going to watch. Hey, it's on TV. I'm going to watch it this week because it's awesome. I'm going to watch this boxing, even though they might not be great fighters in this fight coming up, but hey, it's watching it again. It's fun. And I got to wait for the playoffs for the big fights to come up. And it gives me that appetizer. James, how about you? What do you think? What fights have you watched recently that you like, and what fights coming up in the next 1 or 2 weeks that you want to see?
Well, I'll tell you right now. I mean, I watched Magdaleno versus Vicente.
Over there? What's going on?
It's just tough to say, man. It's a chupacabra. What you want? Yeah, there was a bunch of low blows, but I'm going to go this on the other side because that was the worst fight that I saw on that entire card. All he did, Jesse, I'm going to call him Jesse. All Jesse did was throw one punch and then grab Vicente's left or right arm and hold him for 7 to 8 rounds. That's all he did. So Vicente started hitting him and below the belt. I don't condone that. That's some childish stuff he got going on right there, but Jesse's a better fighter than that, and he didn't live up to that one. I was very disappointed in that one. However, I was more surprised at the fight yesterday where Night didn't did not perform. Night almost win Night.
And for those
twice.
of you who are new to boxing, explain who Night is.
Oh, that is Joshua Greer. He is actually in this division, in the Bantamweight Division. He fought a relatively unknown fighter. I don't remember his first name. His last name
Michael
Planea.
Yeah, and that was actually, I was actually more impressed with Planea than I was with Greer, because it looked like he had no defense. Like, he wasn't putting up his guard, but he would pop his power left so fast that it snapped, and it hit Greer twice and knocked him down quick too. And it wasn't like a oopsie daisy. Like, it was solid. He timed that perfectly, and then he just controlled that fight. Greer started doing stuff at the end of the fight, but it wasn't enough at all. So that was crazy. And Planea actually ended up winning the fight. Greer got his second loss, and now he's kind of out of this whole contention. He now needs to fight one of these other guys to do that. But that's past fights. The fight tomorrow, I think this is going to be a good one. Jose Pedraza versus Lapierre, Mikel Lapierre. That's going to be a good fight. Lapierre lost. I think
Lapierre from Cambodia, right?
No, I figured he lost a close match to Maurice Hooker. I know I've said his name in the past, so I think that's going to be a good fight. You also got a fight coming up on Saturday on 620, which is Emmanuel Navarrete fighting Uriel Lopez, which is also a good fight. But I'm also on that undercard is Peter Teixeira against Brian Carlos Castanano, who are two title holders in their division. So that's going to be for a belt. So I think that's going to be a good fight. And lastly, before I pass on to one of y'all, Miguel Berchelt is going to be fighting on 6/27. That was just announced real soon, last couple of days. That's going to be, watch Miguel Berchelt.
He was on our pound for pound list.
He was just outside mine. And the only knock on him is he's only been in one division. But that man right there, you want to watch a knockout? Watch Berchelt.
Yeah, you had him at 14. Richie had him at 11.
If I may, quickly.
No.
I don't like you, Jimmy James.
You may proceed.
I said no, and you ripped on James, and he says proceed, so go ahead.
I said my piece. That's
no,
all
come on. I was just kidding. Don't give me dead air on that.
I just said it. I don't like you, Jimmy James. That's all I said. That's all I wanted to say.
That's it?
I don't like you, Jimmy. That's all I wanted to say.
Man, that's just rubbing it in after a win.
James.
That's just cruel.
I don't like you, Jimmy James.
I'm done with you, Filthy Rich.
Did I get that belt? I won this week, right?
So you did. But real quick.
I don't like you, Raider Live.
out of those three fights that I just said, the three fights coming up, well, technically four fights that I said coming up. What one fight are you most looking forward to? You want me to pop through them real quick again?
Go for it. Yeah.
Pedraza against Lapierre, Navarrete against Lopez, Berchelt against Valenzuela, or Teixeira against Castano.
Teixeira and Castano. That's I didn't even know they were fighting. I thought Berchelt was the right answer, but the name has slipped me already. But the Castano fight is the one I want to see. I didn't know all this stuff was happening. That's why I don't like you. And I also don't like Raider Live. So.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I like me because I'm good enough and I'm smart enough. And
I love you both.
People like me.
I don't like you because I love you both. That's why. Take that.
I'm going to be interested, if not that anyone cares, but I'm most interested in my answer to that would be the Berchelt fight, just because I haven't seen enough of him yet. You guys had him in your pound for pound list. The only reason I had him out of my pound for pound list is because I haven't seen enough of him yet. I'm interested to watch some more of him. You guys have talked up outside the show about him a lot, and I've just never watched him. So I'm excited to watch that fight. I always like watching fighters that you guys tell me about to watch for the first time or second time, or I think I watched one of his YouTube fights, but I haven't studied him enough. Quickly, James, what should we be looking for in that Berchelt fight? Like, what makes Berchelt such an interesting fighter?
It's not really he's interesting. He's just nonstop. He's a pressure guy. He's like your Triple G. Like, he just keeps coming forward, and he has a lot of power. He's got some heavy hands, man, and to me, that's what makes him an exciting fighter. People want to watch. People don't want to watch decision fights. They want to watch. Well, most people don't want to watch decision
don't wanna
fights.
watch
They
hugging.
want to see no. They want to see a knockout, and they want to see someone knock out. You want to watch somebody get knocked out? Watch Berchelt, because he's probably going to knock Valenzuela out the ring.
Hey, I mean, you said Triple G, you got me sold right there. I mean, that's part of the reason why I have such love for Better Biev compared to the rest of you guys, because he knocks people out. I mean, that's what he does. That's all he does. He knocks
what you
people
like
out.
to see.
Everything he touches, he destroys. So, back to our pound for pound list. I had him at 6, and you guys laughed at that because James got it at 15 and Richie at 13. But because of me, we had him in the top 10. And it's because he knocks people out. And me, as the voice of America, has to have that public voice. We like to watch knockouts, and that's what he does. And I'm going to check out Berchelt because it sounds like that's what he does too. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, if I were to sum up Berchelt in one word, it would be offense. It would just nonstop offense, and you don't have to wait for they're feeling each other out in the first round, and they're feeling each other out the second round.
Yeah,
Nah, Berchelt ain't got. None of us, including Berchelt, ain't got time for that. He's just going in there. It's offense.
He's like, he makes dinner reservations
Oh.
by the time the 9th round comes around. He's like, I got to be out of here by the 7th round. So let's get this thing going here.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nobody got time for that. I like to put on a big drama show, though. All right, boys, that was a good 13th round. Let's move on to the question of the week. All right, Filthy Rich, our Filthy Fan question of the week comes from, let me get this right, Lusa. I think I pronounced that right, Lusa from St. Paul. And he asks, does a good Olympic career translate to a good professional career?
Lusa, thank you for the question. The answer is yes and no. For the most part, the reason why it would be yes is because you have to have some sort of amateur background experience to do well in the professional rankings. Now, the answer can be no also, because not all Olympians end up doing well in the professional ranks, whether it's promotional reasons or they're just not marketable, or some of these guys are just smart and not smart, but they go on to another career. We talked last week about Kim Clavel, who is a nurse. She probably makes more money in nursing than she does in boxing. And I think that happens with a lot of male fighters as well. They just go on to some other profession. And going back to why it is, I don't know if it was yes or no. I've already lost train of thought. But someone like Rigondeaux, who has 16 medals, it's not always about Olympic boxing. Sometimes there's the Pan American Games, and there is the World Championships, and then the Cuba Championships, and the Battle of Americas, whatever it may be. Sometimes these people come from very, very poor countries where they don't have 4 years to wait for the next Olympics. They want to turn pro right away to make that money so they can feed their families or whatever it may be, or provide for their countries. But basically, to answer the question, yes, it helps to have Olympic experience, but if you don't line up for the Olympics, you just end up skipping the Olympics and you turn pro, and you go that route to make that money.
Well, I'd like to add in there too. Let's look at some of the greatest Olympic boxers there have been. There's been Roy Jones Jr., Sugar Ray Leonard, guys that are really, really, that you think of Olympic boxing. Can you think of anyone that was an Olympic boxer, great Olympic boxer, that did not translate well to the professionals?
No.
That one.
I can't.
Usually, if you're a gold medalist for America in boxing in the Olympics, it usually translates to a good one. Can you think of any, James? I mean, I named two of the greats, but there's obviously some more that have won gold medals in the Olympics. Rigomadeo.
No, because they didn't do well in the pros. So why do we know them?
Right. That's a good point. I mean, there's no one that stands out like as an amazing Olympic athlete that didn't turn pro. Like
Not off the
I
top of my
understand
head.
off the top of your head. I understand it, but it's like obviously the greats when you talk about Roy Jones Jr. how great an Olympic career he had, or Sugar Ray Robinson or Sugar Ray Leonard how great Olympic career he had. You probably only remember the Olympic side because of how great a professional they were at the same time. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if you're great in memory. Let me ask it this way. Let me reverse his question on you. If you're not a great professional boxer, but you're in the Olympics, does that make you a good Olympic boxer? Like, say you were an Olympic boxer that won a silver medal or whatnot, but then your professional career fizzled out. Does that happen often, or can you think of anyone that like that, or does it go both ways?
Well, yeah, I would say it does happen. And a name I want to drop here again, not again, but like Shakur Stevenson won the silver. I think it was a silver medal, and then he lost to the guy on the undercard of that fight, Robeisy Ramirez, I believe is his name. Ramirez lost his professional debut. He's still fighting now, and he's undefeated since then. But Shakur is such a blue chip fighter that we're going to hear his name for years to come. Now, Ramirez, again, sometimes it's a marketing thing where this is a game of entertainment. Can you entertain the crowd with your verbal speeches or whatever? Like The Rock. The Rock may have not been the greatest, but boy, he had you tuning in every week. Floyd Mayweather was a silver medalist. Who was the guy that beat him? I don't know either. What happened to him? Here are some differences. Maybe I'll touch on this. A couple differences in the amateurs compared to professional. For one, the amateurs wear the headgear. We all see that right off the bat. Second thing is the gloves are a bit heavier, so the blows are softened. Another thing is they never go past 5 rounds, so you really can't tell who would have won in the 6th, 8th, 12th rounds. So we don't know if these gold medals are that great. But
I'll add a fourth one there. Olympic judging has never been good either.
We talked about drug testing a few episodes back, and the WADA testing, when the Olympics were in Russia. I mean, it came out a year or so later that the Russian, I don't want to get whacked by the KGB, so I better keep my mouth shut here. But
what do you mean? We'll protect you.
The World Anti-Doping Association has been known to take bribes, and with the Sochi Olympics there was bribes going on. I'll leave it at that. But
what was the main one? Was it Roy Jones Jr. that lost the main
in Seoul, Korea?
One?
Yeah, when he lost in Korea, I mean that was a robbery at a point where I think they've actually given Jones Jr. his medal.
Right, it ruined the other guy's life, and I think a couple of them judges actually went to jail because they were paid under the table. Like, if you've never watched that fight, go back and just YouTube that fight. Like, there's just no way. Even Adelaide Bird couldn't judge that fight the way for the Korean guy over Roy Jones Jr. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
So, but like, I would like to say that at least being in the Olympics, in medaling in the Olympics, in a general sense, you will have a good career. Mike Conlon. We just talked about Mike Conlon a few weeks ago when I had him at number 5, and it's because I don't think anyone's fighting him. But he got robbed in the Olympics. He famously threw up a middle finger at the judges. Yep. So getting a gold doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the king in whatever weight class you're in. And at the same time, getting a bronze or a silver doesn't mean you're a scrub either. You may go on to be that blue chip prospect. I mean, even going back to, again, Shakur Stevenson, he's like 17 years old in 2016. He's fighting like a 30-year-old dude. So not to say what do you expect, but you're asking a 17-year-old to fight a grown man who may have a job doing something else and only fights as an amateur
right?
For fun.
Well, and not only that too. I mean, something to talk about. You brought it up earlier that it is two totally different sports in the fact that the rules are totally different. You're only fighting on short rounds. You got headgear on, so there's very little knockouts in the Olympics. I mean, very little happens. I mean, they put them giant pillows on your head. You and
Points
me can wail
game,
on each
man.
other but it's points. It's basically points and speed and
Evander
style.
Holyfield got robbed in the Olympics, and he turned out to be a stud. I mean, he got robbed in the Olympics. He should have won I believe he should have won a gold medal. I can't remember exactly what happened to him. But like even De La Hoya, he didn't win a gold. I don't know if he won a silver or a bronze. He medaled, but he didn't win a gold, and he still had a really good career. Canelo, I don't think Canelo even had a medal, but he had such a deep amateur background when it came to like the Pan American Games, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
Canelo didn't fight in the Olympics though, right?
He turned pro when he was 16 years old. He was prone people at 16. So, but Lusa, thanks for the question. I mean, that was a great question. Obviously you can tell we enjoyed answering that. It wasn't just me; it was all of us. So.
We all like to throw in a little bit, even though it's the Filthy Fan Question of the Week for Filthy Rich. We like to throw our 2 cents in there, especially. And that was a good topic to talk about. So thank you very much, Lusa. If you have a question for the gang here, please put it in our Twitter, or you can send it to RaiderLive@gmail.com. I get them there as well. Or you can post it on the Facebook page, Raider Live, or you can post it in the comments below. You can do all that stuff, and we'll answer a question on a future show. All right, boys, let's move on to the Filthy Fan Fight of the Week. I shouldn't say Filthy Fan Fight.
I don't know what the heck that was. Yeah, what was that? What was that?
I take away Judge James' segment. It's Judge James' Fight of the Week. Sorry, man. I apologize for that. You know,
leaving out part of my name.
You're still learning, Raider Live.
2 beers in. I mean, but
I must be like 48 proof.
It's the same beers I had at trivia this last week. So if you watch that show, you understand why. Yeah, that's exactly what Ryan Hype said too when he was talking about the show. He's like, ooh. All right, James, what's your fight of the week?
Well, next week, I don't know if it's been said yet, but we were doing not flyweight. What the heck was
Superfly.
it? Super flyweight.
Guns of the Navarone.
So super flyweights, which is 115, I think. So that fight of the week is going to be Chocolatito Gonzalez against Sarung Vasai. Fight 1. That's the one that I recommend. The first one. Yep, they fought twice. Watch the first one. Siskatet Sarung Vasai versus Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez.
After the first one, you can watch the second one too if you want. But
yeah, why not? Watch them back to back. It'd be good. See if he gains that stuff back. See what happens. See if there's some more fireworks or something. But yeah, that first fight was good.
Chocolatito is a fan of everyone on the show. We're all fans of Chocolate. Or he's not a fan of us. Well, he should be, but we're all a fan of Chocolatito. We were very sad what happened to him, that his career kind of ended for a while after like 1 or 2 losses, but now it's back. He's back, baby. He's got to keep winning to be back, because if he loses again, it's not going to be good.
Don't be spoiling.
Yeah, well, no spoilers, but you're going to watch it anyway. I mean, watch it anyway. Even if I know the outcome of the fight, I still like to watch it. You know, I know the outcome of Triple G Canelo. I'll go watch it again. Triple G won both times, and he'll win the third one. I hope. God, please just knock him out. Please just knock him out. All right, boys. Good show tonight. We're back here. We will be filming again next week. This is our 13th episode. We got some changes coming up here in the future. Also, some changes to the channel. There'll be a video here down below tonight, or not tonight. You don't know when this is, but there's a video on the channel talking about the future of the channel, kind of the state of the channel address. Make sure you watch that. Please tell your boxing friends about our show, and also introduce a friend of yours that doesn't know boxing to boxing, because we all love this sport, and if you watch this show, you love this sport. So introduce someone else to the sport and let the sport grow out a little bit, and then we grow. You know, we're fans at one point. These guys brought me into boxing fans, and you watch enough fights to become a fan. And we need more boxing fans in this sport. Right, boys?
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Yeah, Raider Live, the voice of America, Raider Live.
Well, the drug voice of America at the moment. But anyway, all right. For Filthy Rich and Judge Jimmy James, I am Raider Live. Thank you all for joining us for episode 13 of Brews and Boxing. We will see you next week.